I'm doing based on how it made me feel and how it made so many people in this community and across this country feel. Jamal Sutherland, in my opinion, was murdered.
The Justice Department announcing today it will not pursue federal criminal civil rights charges in the death of Jamal Sutherland. Sutherland died January 5th, 2021, after videos showed deputies forcibly pulled him out of his jail cell and shocked him multiple times with a stun gun. The two deputies involved were fired, but the state solicitor said there was not enough evidence to bring criminal charges against them. Our investigative reporter Ann Emerson has been following the case since the very beginning, and she spoke to Sutherland's parents and a state lawmaker about the case today. So, Ann, what did they have to say about the decision?
Well, Katie, in the statement released by the DOJ today, it said, after this review, prosecutors determined that insufficient evidence exists to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that deputies willfully violated the federal criminal civil rights statutes. But Jamal's mother, Amy Sutherland, says more work needs to be done before there is justice for her son.
Their investigation came from the investigation that was done before. It's not like they went for new evidence. They looked at what was already there. Nobody ever came and spoke to us about my son, how we felt about it, so that there was nothing that could be done anymore. The same investigation was done from the beginning to the end.
And she's not wrong. Sources close to the investigation tell me that this decision by the DOJ only covers the criminal side. There are still ways to federally investigate policies and practices from a civil side. Jamal's mother and a representative, Jay Moore, wants to see any changes to policies and procedures from this become law as well.
Everybody said, I looked at the book to see the laws. But then, as officials, you guys need to tell us how to change these laws.
It's a tragedy, and it speaks to more about the system in which we need to change. Laws in which at the federal level and at the state level that we need to amend to hold individuals like the two folks that murdered Jamal to have some type of punitive justice.
Now, the Charleston County Sheriff's Office proactively made several changes to policies and procedures at the detention center shortly after Jamal Sutherland's tragic death. And you might remember Sutherland's death occurred as Sheriff Kristen Graziano was taking over from Sheriff Al Cannon's 33-year tenure.
Sutherland died January 5th, 2021, after videos showed deputies forcibly pulled him out of his jail cell and shocked him multiple times with a stun gun. The two Charleston County Sheriff's deputies involved were fired, but the state solicitor said there was not enough evidence to bring criminal charges against them. Justice Department officials met with the Sutherland family on Tuesday.
Yesterday was hard, but it was almost expected because that's how the system works. And until there's some changes, we will continue to die, and the system will continue to fail us.
In its statement, the Justice Department reported that after this review, prosecutors determined that insufficient evidence exists to prove beyond a reasonable doubt the deputies willfully violated the federal criminal civil rights statutes. Sources close to the investigation tell ABC News 4 that this decision by the DOJ only covers the criminal side. There are still ways to investigate policies and practices from a civil side. The Sutherland family settled with Charleston County for $10 million and says it still plans to sue the mental facility where their son was being treated and arrested before his death.
The rest of the country and the rest of law enforcement had been moving towards de-escalation for 8 to 10 years. And the detention center didn't get that memo.
A systemic failure. That's what Charleston County Sheriff Kristen Graziano says led to Jamal Sutherland's death in January at the Al Cannon Detention Center. And today, Sheriff Graziano spoke one-on-one with our Brody Hart. He tells us the mistakes the sheriff admits deputies made and her commitment to new deputy training.
We don't train to excessively tase people. We just don't.
Just one of many errors Charleston County Sheriff Kristen Graziano admits deputies made the day Jamal Sutherland died in custody.
Desire from Deputy Hool not to go into the cell, not to want to have to bring Jamal Sutherland out.
I also asked about supervisors requiring detention deputy Brian Huell to force Sutherland out of his cell to attend his bond hearing. That's even after it's documented that Deputy Huell twice expressed concern. State law, it does not require an inmate to attend their bond hearing.
So that was one of the very first things that we changed. The very first policy that I implemented was a duty to intervene policy. And that policy says if you decide you don't want to do it, you can't get in trouble for not doing it.
Graziano says she fired the chief deputy of the detention center the day Sutherland died. She says that was because of the culture he perpetuated. He was the one who ordered the extraction. She is now trying to change that culture by requiring all detention deputies to go through new critical incident training, which includes de-escalation tactics.
Our message is our message. If you're not a part of if you don't want to be a part of the team, there's a door.
Well, what changes could you implement to better equip your deputies to handle inmates with mental illness?
So the biggest one is the training for de-escalation, and that's what they're all going to be required to do. And I think August 2nd is our first large class with detention.
Moving forward, but also looking back at that January day and offering a message to Jamal Sutherland's mother.
I can't imagine what this family is going through. Jamal's death will not be in vain. We will do good things so that no other family has to go through what this family went through ever under my watch.
That includes a mental health summit at the sheriff's office in August, which she hopes further prevents serious mistakes and further cements a new culture.
To have a policy in place that required them to do an extraction to begin with should have never happened. That was our focus. We knew going into it. My only regret is I didn't have a chance to do it sooner.
Working for you, Brody Hart, ABC News 4.
Also new at 6, we know that 2 cell extractions have been done at the Alcanna Detention Center this year. A sheriff's office spokesperson said one of them involved Jamal Sutherland. The other was conducted months later on March 5th.